The new stamp set Vintage Notes by Tammy Mayberry sets the perfect backdrop for so many card and scrapbooking projects. Today on Stamp TV, I'm going to mix the Vintage Notes set with the Petals and Wings Stamp TV kit and make a simple note card that can be easily reproduced. Let me show you the tools and products you're going to need to make this project. First, you're going to need some ink, and I'm using two of the Distress inks by Tim Holtz. It's Fired Brick and Crushed Olive. Then I'm going to use the Memento Rich Cocoa ink. You also need some cardstock, and I'm starting off with a card base of the new Dark Chocolate. And then I'm going to add some of our layering weight in the Ivory and some Cranberry Tart. And I'm also using another piece of layering weight Ivory for the focal image. Then you're going to need one of the dies from the new Office Supplies die set by Spellbinders. I'm also using a Cuttlebug folder for this one, and I've chosen Distressed Stripes. I'm going to use a little bit of the Dark Chocolate double-stitched ribbon and a couple of 1/4-inch pop dots. Then, for the stamps, I'm using the journaling block from the Vintage Notes stamp set, and I'm going to use two of the different sprig and floral images from the Petals and Wings kit, and then one of the greetings from the Vintage Notes, and this is the one that says Just a Note. So, to begin, I'm going to stamp onto a piece of 80-pound ivory, the journaling block from Vintage Notes, and I'm going to ink that up using some of the Rich Cocoa ink. And again, I like to ink up the bigger stamps while they're laying on their back. That just allows me to make sure that ink got on all over the entire surface. And I'm going to stamp that right in the middle here. Put a little bit of extra pressure, and there we have it. Now I'm going to add the Just a Note greeting, and I'm also going to do that one in the Rich Cocoa. I'm going to stamp that right here at the top, like that. Now, this vintage layout, you want this to kind of look a little bit shady and not very, very crisp, and you can see all of that is built into that stamp work there. Now, for the first sprig, I'm going to ink this up with Crushed Olive. If you don't want a full olive color, you can stamp off once and then it'll be a little bit softer and more in the background, or if you want the full olive color, just go ahead and stamp it right onto the journaling block. But I don't want this to go outside of my journaling block, so what I've done is I've just cut a little piece of cardstock here, and I'm just going to put that right down at the bottom. That's going to prevent any of this ink from getting past that bottom line. And I'll just stamp that right there, like that. Now I'm going to switch out the stamp to the floral image, and I'm going to stamp this one in the Fired Brick. Ink that up. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use this little piece of cardstock right there just to protect the bottom so it doesn't go outside of the lines, and I'm going to stamp the flowers right on top like that. And that just gives me a little garden look. If you wanted to, you could move it over a little bit into this, and it would almost look like that was a little pile of grass and dirt, and it was growing out of that, but I kind of like the way that looks, a little bit more centered. Now I'm going to cut out my focal image using the die from the Office Supplies set and my Cuttlebug. So I have an A plate and a B plate and my focal image, and now I'm lining up the die, and then I'm going to use the C plate for cut. Now, occasionally, when you're using Spellbinders dies with any other die cutting machine other than the Grand Caliber that Spellbinders recommends with their dies, some of their more intricate dies are a little bit difficult to get out. And you can help that along a little bit by adding a piece of cardstock in there when you run it through. So you want to make sure that it's lined up perfectly, and then lay your C plate on there, and then lay a piece of cardstock in there and run it through with the cardstock, and that'll make it just a little bit more snug. Now, your Cuttlebug may be calibrated a little bit differently than mine, and yours might cut right the first time. I would always try to cut it first, and then if it doesn't cut all the way through, like you can see, it's just a little bit shallow right there, and it could be a little bit deeper, then add the piece of paper or the shim. This is what I call a shim, this piece of cardstock. Now, another thing that you can do is if it's not cut all the way through, you can flip it around upside down and cut it again. And sometimes just having that pressure coming from the top will finish it off nicely and make it cut well. So that's a little bit better. You can see how clean that cut. Now I'm going to emboss by just keeping it upside down like this and adding the rubber mat, the B-plate, and a piece of chipboard. And I'm going to run that through. And that should make it a lot easier for it to come out. Now I'm going to affix this piece onto this piece of ivory cardstock using a little bit of mono adhesive. And this is the dot style adhesive. This holds up very well for cards and for scrapbook pages. And then just stick that on there. Okay. Now I'm going to use a little piece of our dark chocolate ribbon. And we have renamed that ribbon, although it may still say chocolate brown on the website for a few more days. It is dark chocolate ribbon. It does match our dark chocolate cardstock, and we wanted to make sure it was easy for you to find what coordinates with what cardstock, so we just renamed it. And there we go. And now this is going to go on top, and I'm going to put this on using some of the 1/4 inch pop dots. Just one in each corner will do. Move this one a little bit to the inside there. So that's all kind of inside that recessed area where it was embossed. And stick that right onto this card front. And now this whole panel is going to go onto a piece of our dark chocolate that I made a card base out of. And I will use the mono dot adhesive to stick that on as well. And there is the finished card. And you can see how quick and easy that one is to make, and all that detail of that distressed look in there. I just love that. The adorable Vintage Notes stamp set works great for masculine and feminine card projects, and is also a great backdrop for a graduation card or a thank you card to a favorite teacher.